Good evening, everyone. This is the call to order of the Bridgeport Public Schools Finance Committee. Today is Wednesday, February 28th, 2024, and the time is now 6:00 p.m. In attendance, we have myself, Chair Akeisha Casimir, Mr. Benahan, committee member. I also want to recognize Board of Education members that are here. Mr. Joseph Sokolovic, Mr. Robert Traver, Mr. Willie Medina, and we have Mr. Andre Woodson online. Okay. The first order of business, the first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes dated October 25th, 2023, the last Finance Committee meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move for Mr. Benahan.
I'll second that. It has been moved by Mr. Benahan and seconded by Akeisha Casimir. Are there any errors or omissions to the previous minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. The very next item on the agenda is a presentation and overview of the 2024-2025 budget projection by our superintendent, Dr. Carmela Levy-David, Marlene Siegel, and interim CFO, Ms. Patricia St. Louis. Marlene will not be here. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
She's online, but she's not presenting.
Marlene is online, but not presenting. Thank you. Are you ready?
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. First, I'd like to welcome and recognize our new interim CFO, Ms. Patricia St. Louis, who is currently an employee with the Board of Ed and is until recently was our manager for budget and finance. And comes very highly recommended. And we're very excited to have her on board. And I'd like to thank Ms. Marlene Siegel, who will be retiring after many, many years with the Board of Ed, for her incredible and amazing stewardship and leadership and guidance over the past 10 years. We're sorry to see her go, but we are just very, very thankful for the time that she gave us and the time that she devoted to the district.
Let the record reflect that Chairwoman Christine Baptiste Perez has entered the meeting.
Let me go to the next slide. Our mission is to, in partnership with the community, model excellence and equity in education for every single child, and to focus on quality instruction and to develop the efficient structures and systems to ensure that they're successful. Next slide, please. And our vision is to deliver a culturally responsive, high-performing learning environment where our students can thrive in a variety of ways. Next slide, please. And our value statement is that we believe that our greater Bridgeport community must be committed to educational excellence, and that each of us has a personal responsibility to contribute to that excellence. I decided to dust those off because I hadn't seen them shared in any of our meetings in the past few months. And I think it's important for us to remember what we stand for in Bridgeport. Our fiscal goals are, first of all, to deliver a structurally balanced budget, and to maintain it, we have to build on a comprehensive financial plan where we consider all of our sources, all of our resources, and ensure that we have real cost management and the most effective educational program that we can deliver. Second fiscal goal is to have a school-based budgeting model. And we want to make sure that we're empowering our school leaders, grounded in accountability at the very school level. Also, we want to deliver fiscal accountability through continued integrity, transparency, and reporting and systems management here at the district level. And finally, to have comprehensive fiscal management so that we can engage in all of the analysis and internal controls, as well as the innovation, in order to secure resources, optimize our utilization, and always maintain fiscal stability. you go to the next slide, please. My proposed budget for 24-25 includes an increase in our expenditures of 15.44%, which is a really, really big number, and that's where we are. And the projection for next year is to have an operating budget of $309 million. And to align with that, we have a $41 million fund request. And that is a breakdown between the amount that we'll be asking from the city, which will be $16 million, and as well as $8 million in alliance increase, $12.8 million carryover from reserves, and a $3.5 million in gap resolution strategies. We are considering several factors, including increasing student enrollment, collective bargaining agreements that we have concluded over the past year and are continuing to work on, and also the transfer of mandated and essential services from ESSER grants. Next slide, please. This time I'll be turning the presentation over to Ms. St. Louis.
Thank you, Dr. Carmela. Good evening, everyone. I am grateful for this opportunity to be here.
Sorry, raise your voice, please. So
I'm
everybody can hear you.
I'm grateful for this opportunity to serve Bridgeport Public Schools. And I'm looking forward to continuing to collaborate with the superintendent and everyone else involved in making this district great. My role would be as interim CFO to maintain the budget and to ensure that we are utilizing the resources effectively and efficiently to meet the students' needs. So we are requesting an operating budget of $309 million. That is a $41 million increase from our operating budget of $268 million for fiscal year 24. The city share in fiscal year 24 was $75.6 million. So we're looking to increase that by $16.7 million to $92 million. It may seem like a large increase, but this is to ensure that we are able to maintain all the services that we need for our schools. And we are utilizing funds from our reserves. We're anticipating on utilizing $12.8 million from our reserves. So within that $41 million, we have $12.8 million in reserves that we're going to utilize, $16.7 million from the city that we're requesting, and $8 million, as we've stated, that we're anticipating to receive from the state in our ECS Alliance fund. So we received $28 million this year, and we're anticipating to receive $36 million in ECS Alliance funds from the state, in fiscal year 25. So as we know, our ESSER funds are running out. We are utilizing it as best to leverage all of our costs, and the ESSER funds will run out in September 30th, 2024. At that point, we will have to rely more on funding from the city in order to meet the needs, to maintain the services that we would need for the district. Next slide, please. So as you can see, our increase has been very small from year to year. From 2016, it was negative, and we've only increased our funding by 1% to 2% most recently, but it's been around 1% and less than 1% in 2023. So because ESSER funds are running out, we will need $41 million in order to meet the gap, the financial gap. So we've projected that we will need $309 million, and that's a $41 million gap.
I'll hang on to that for
Okay.
just a second. I do want to draw your attention to the fact that our allocation, our basic allotment has been flat since 2015. It really has not increased at all. And the amount for the Alliance grant has fluctuated over the past few years, but the city share has also remained relatively flat. We've had some increase in the city share, but one of the pieces that I think really is remarkable is that the percentage of increase from year to year has not kept up with inflation and has definitely not kept up with student needs in the district. And that is even more remarkable as we look at the fact that we've had 3 years of additional ARPA and ESSER funding that actually really helped to support many of the programs in the district, as well as allowed us to develop the savings fund, the surplus fund that we have now. But now that ESSER is ending, we're going to have to draw upon that in order to make ourselves whole. So I just wanted to make sure that we address the fact that that funding has been relatively flat and the percentage of increase has not kept up with inflation and has not kept up with the needs of our district. Next slide.
When we annualize our percentage increases over 10 years, it is a rate of 2.68%, which, as Dr. Camilla had mentioned, is not keeping up with inflation with our rising costs and special ed tuition and transportation costs and salary increases that are required according to our collective bargaining agreements. Next slide, please. So if we take a look at our general fund, we can see how we're spending our money. And most of our expenditures are in salaries and benefits. Our certified salaries is 40% of our general fund. So those are the teachers and administrators. And then we have our non-certified salaries of 12% of the budget. We're anticipating that 22% of it will be for benefits. So if we add salaries and benefits together, that's approximately 74% of our funding that's going to salaries and benefits. We keep a tight handle on our costs. We really try to cut down where we can. And so you can see that most of the expenses are going to be to the teachers who are teaching our students and our administrators and everyone else involved in running the schools. And there's a very small percentage in supplies and equipment. Is less than 1%, less than half of 1%. And our tuition, special education tuition is 8%. And our transportation costs are about 10%.
Just wanted to add to that.
I'm sorry, Dr. Levy Davis, before you continue, really quick, I just want to let the record reflect that committee member Tahiba Bain has joined online. Thank you, I'm sorry.
No, not a problem. Last week, I had the privilege of being able to represent Bridgeport, advocating for increased funding and advocating for the legislature to reject the governor's proposal for funding because it would be detrimental to not only Bridgeport, but many other districts in the state. Today, I actually went back to Hartford to testify once more, and I really wanted to ensure that the Appropriations Committee was very clear about what the immediate needs of school districts like Bridgeport are and what the needs are for them to really honor the money that was promised prior to this fiscal year and prior to the governor's announcement, and for them to honor ensuring that we're able to be made whole as ESSER funding is ending during the 2024 school year. So over the process of that testimony, I was able to share those priorities and I was able to highlight some of the unique needs that we have in the city of Bridgeport. Thank you so much.
Okay, next slide, please. So this is a breakdown of our budget for fiscal year 24, the current year. As you can see, our appropriated budget is $239.7 million for our current year. And in the additional funds column, you can see that oftentimes we have some vacancies and salaries, and so we are anticipating some savings in salaries due to vacancies. But unfortunately, we're unable to fully fund all of our expenses using the appropriated budget. And so therefore, we have to draw down on our ISF fund. And you can see that for transportation and for tuition, we need additional costs. Usually, we're not able to fully fund our transportation and tuition budget in the beginning of the year due to inadequate funding for the year. So for fiscal year 25, we are projecting that we will need $281 million. Well, actually, I'm sorry. First, I want to say the appropriate budget is 239, but our expenses will be $247 million since we will draw down on our reserves. But for fiscal year 25, we're going to need $281 million in our general fund in order to maintain our services. Next slide. So here we can see the breakdown of the source of our funding, our revenues. So the city is contributing 28.2% of our funding, while the state is contributing 71.8%. And so we need the percentage to be higher from the city as well, because the rate at which they've been increasing our funding has been very low. You can see we have only had a 2.2% increase. Next slide, please. So we're requesting, I'm sorry, projected increase. So we're, oh, I'm sorry. So we're asking for a 22% increase from the city, which may seem like a lot, but when you look at the annualized increase, it is still very low. And so to make up for funds that we hadn't received in the prior year, we are requesting the $16.7 million in order to fund our escalated costs and essential services from ESSER that we will no longer receive funding for through ESSER. And that will be a total of 6.2% of the total budget. Next slide, please. So this is another breakdown of our budget gap. And we're just going to reiterate that the city, we're requesting 16.7 from the city, 8 million from the state is what we're expecting for the ECS Alliance increase. That's an increase. It increased from 28 million in the current year. So we're expecting 36 million for the state ECS Alliance. And we're anticipating that we will have to withdraw $12.8 million in funds from our previous year's surpluses. And we will attempt to find ways to find strategies in order to come up with another 3.5 million, which we're anticipating will most likely come from vacancies, which we do not like to see, but unfortunately there's turnover factors and that usually results in some savings. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry, we can hear the whispering up here. Please bear with us. Thank you.
We just want to give a visual to how low our costs are compared to other districts. Out of 166 districts, we're in the bottom 11. So we are the 8th lowest when it comes to the cost per pupil. The net current expenditure per pupil for Bridgeport is $16,506. And the lowest is Danbury, where their cost per pupil is $14,647. So we definitely have made the effort to keep costs down. We're not spending as much as other districts. We don't have as much funding as other districts. And unfortunately, we're the 8th lowest in the entire state.
And so that again highlights the fact that we have not had adequate incremental increases in the funding that we receive as a district in order to support rising costs year after year. Considering the needs of our diverse student population, we are not able to meet those needs by spending $16,000 per pupil. It would be much better if we were able to spend more money per pupil, which is ideally where we'd like to be. However, part of the reason why we spend as much as we do, we don't spend more actually spend the amount of money that we would like to spend per pupil, is that we have not had that incremental amount in order to ensure that our costs are keeping up with inflation and keeping up with rising costs.
Our presentation.
Open up the floor for questions.
Open up the floor for questions. I'll start with committee member, Mr. Benahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. And my first question is, I know we're waiting for this presentation, and I know we still have Ms. Siegel. So my question for you, Madam Chair, how come Ms. Martin Siegel don't give us this presentation? She's still with us. With all respect, Madam, you with you and welcome. But just my question, why she cannot be doing this presentation? She's still with us working, and for so many years she's doing an amazing job and she's doing amazing presentations. I'm curious about that because it's the first time I know, and I find out as a board member this situation. So can you please?
Ms. Siegel is now in a transitioning role. She's in a supporting role only, and she will be leaving the district shortly. So right now we have an interim who is basically getting her sea legs with presenting this budget to the district, and we're going to allow her to do that just like we would with any other new employee. I'm a new superintendent presenting the budget for the first time.
I'm okay with that. Dr. Camilla Levy, but as I say, I'm surprised, she's still with us. It was good, she's still, and now everybody learning, as you and me and everyone. But shocked me that, that means that Siegel don't give the presentation. I just wanted to know that for the record. I was confused. So I just wanted to say that for the record.
I'm just so glad that I know you recover quickly from shock.
Yeah, I'm trying, trust me, that I'm trying my best. I trust my best. No more questions. Madam Chair.
Committee member Tahiba Bain. Any questions, Tahiba? Ms. Bain?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. I have just a couple of questions. The ISF fund, can you explain those acronyms and what is it
The
used
Internal
for?
Service Fund, and that's where we have our health and our workers' comp insurance funded in that fund. And when we have a surplus, usually we will transfer it in that fund and then we keep track of it separately. So it's a carryover, which we're saving it within that fund so that it's not expended and that we can have it for future use.
But if there are, did you say that what did you say that was in the fund? The insurance?
Health. Yes.
So health insurance money is actually in the same bank account as this fund? I'm sorry, you gotta break it down for me.
Everything is in the same bank account
Okay,
because we have our general fund and there are transactions that are going through and we're keeping track of each transactions and knowing what it's for based on the account that we use. In this case, we are maintaining it. We have a spreadsheet and we're maintaining it and we're keeping track of what's for our carryover funds and what pertains to the health account. So we're not commingling our funds.
so all of the Board of Ed funding is in like technically one bank account, and then you just have somebody keeping
We're
track
keeping track, yes.
of what money goes where.
Mhm.
Is there some type of limit to how much one person can spend out of the account? Or did
The
you know,
only
because sometimes you
time-
need 2 signatures
What-
over a certain amount?
No, it's not a bank account. It's a fund. So the bank account is a cash account, which is totally separate.
Okay,
But when it comes to us keeping track of what goes into that fund, we only have a transaction towards the end of the year. Once we have a surplus, then we move the funds into that account and we update the spreadsheet to ensure that we're keeping track of what's in that account.
so if the
And
funds
then
are,
when we have to withdraw it, we do the same thing.
so if the funds are not in the regular bank account, what kind of account is it kept in? Is it like a,
Well, it's not a cash account.
oh, it's not a cash
Yes,
account? I'm
it's
sorry,
a
I'm still
fund.
learning.
Yes. Yes.
Still learning, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. What are the 2 biggest expenditures? You talked about salary and benefits.
Mhm.
What was the second one?
No, it was certified salaries, non-certified salaries, and benefits. Those
And
were the,
special ed is
Our three-
taking up how much? Because I know I had wanted to know that. Want to get a number of special ed, how much that is.
that will be our tuition.
It would be in tuition.
Yes, at 8%.
So there's really essentially no way that we can like lower the salaries or the benefits, obviously, because I know with benefits, sometimes things go up every year with inflation and we have to pay out more.
Mhm.
Okay.
And we also pay into retirement
Right,
benefits and retirement salaries for retired employees.
okay. I saw a term called LPS bond funding at a meeting that we had with Ms. Siegel. I just wanted to ask, I never got a chance to ask, what does that mean? What is that for?
Honestly, I don't know. Yes.
Yes, fund is local performance school grant,
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
local performance schools.
It's a low performing school grant. Oh, okay. I know I have the different funding sources that we have because unfortunately we're a failing district. So
Yes.
I'm looking over that as well. I think that is all I have for now. Mr. Benahan, I want to go back to you. Any
Well,
more
we have
questions?
a number of grants. And if you look at slide it was.
The Alliance.
Slide 8. We also have $34.5 million in grants. And so the low performing school grant is just one of those grants.
Yeah, I know there's several. of them. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Benahan. Any more questions?
Yes, looking at the numbers here in the presentation, and we're asking the $41 million extra. Do you think the city will give it to us, all this money extra, and for years? And talking about us before be our board member.
It's
I know
very,
this-
very unfair to ask her to speculate what the city will give us. I don't think that's a question anyone can answer. Not I and not Ms. St. Louis.
I just want to make sure.
I'm not finishing my question.
Oh, I'm
Please
sorry.
don't interrupt me. Why I'm saying this, because as I said, as before I be a board member, we always have this issue. Always for years. Everybody know that this is not new. That we always ask, talk about the budget, we ask about the money, because this is for our kids. It's not for us, it's not for have fun and nothing like that. They know we need it. They know we need it. Because it's the future and, for the kids. Do you think it's gonna be able, and what we're gonna do, where we're gonna do, where we going, who we're gonna ask? Because they really know. All these people, they know what Bridgeport need. They know.
Yeah.
So what is the plan, what we can do to, this is what we need for Bristol School? Because it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Everybody know what's going on with the budget situation. So I like to prepare, so they know the reason. When they ask question, here we go. Why we this? Here we go. Why we need this? That's my concern.
Well, I would like to answer part of that. And to be fair, we can't speculate what the city is likely to do, and you and I both know that,
Yeah.
right? We can't control what the city is going to give us or not give us. We make a request, and then we turn it over to the mayor, and then city council makes a decision,
Process, yeah.
right? But the thing that we can do internally is that we can be better stewards of the resources that we already have through that fiscal responsibility that I spoke about earlier in the beginning of this presentation. Using our resources more responsibly, being very diligent in identifying areas where we're being wasteful or where we're not being as attentive as we should be, and making sure that we're tightening our belts as well. And I think that the fact that we've had 5 superintendents in the past 10 years has created a great deal of instability throughout our school system, not only at the classroom level, but also in the business office and in the financial level. Every new leader has a new set of priorities, and every new leader may not have all of the historical background of what has happened before. I've spent the past 8 months getting a very in-depth look at where we are financially, and looking at the systems that are working and looking at the areas where we can do a whole lot better and where we can actually grow. And those are some of the pieces that I'll be working with Ms. St. Louis and also with Ms. Spiegel for the time that she has remaining with us to ensure that we get better at that part as well. Because like you said, we can't control what the city is likely to do or not do. But what we can do is also get better internally with the way that we use our resources in the district.
I just wanted to add that we're requesting 16.7 million out of the 41 million that we need. And unfortunately, if they do not provide us with the 16.7 million, then we'll have to draw down even more from our carryover funds, which will put us in a bad situation in 2026.
So in other words, it's like a,
So what does a bad situation mean?
Well, in
Yeah.
okay, at this point, we have $36.6 million in our carryover funds. So if we don't receive the 16.7, say we receive 2 million, now we'll have an additional 14.7 million that we have 36 million, but we also have to remember we have 8 million that we're withdrawing in 2024. So that 36.6, and then we have to withdraw 8. Right, so that leaves us at 28.6. And then next year, if they gave us 2 million for example, for 2025, then we'll have to reduce it by another, we have 12.8 million that we already planned. And then we'll have to reduce it by another 14.7 million. It's like we'll have nothing left. Right? So you have 28.6 million, we'll have to withdraw 27.5 million within this year and next year.
And there's how much in there?
36.
Yeah, but we're reducing it by 8 million this year. So that leaves 28.6.
Technically, it's 28.6.
Yeah, 28.6. And if they don't give us what we need, we'll have to withdraw 27.5.
We underline to the city, give legal people who's trying to
We
save
won't
money.
have any
to work.
funding for 20,
Yeah.
for fiscal year
Well,
26.
we're-
We don't want to, I hate to say one
Maintain
word,
the
but,
same
you know,
level of increases.
yeah, I don't like to say that, but we have to be,
But I
to the
think that
reality, you know,
before,
it's gonna be very tough.
but I think that before, because we have to be responsible with what we
Of
say
course. Mhm.
to people.
Mhm.
Before we say the word layoff, we have to exhaust every other option first. And that's the responsible way to approach a budget. We're not going to panic. We know that this situation has been coming. And like I said, we've been working diligently to identify areas where we can get a whole lot better with the funding that we have and the way that we allocate it and spend it. And we can have significant savings just by taking those steps. So I am not panicking, but I'm not someone who's given to panic either. So I'm not panicking. I think that there's still a lot of steps that we can take before we go to layoffs.
I understand that, Dr. Camila Daza, but I can tell you I'm panicking. You know why? Because I care about what's going on in the Bristol school, and when I say I care, it's the situation that I don't want our students to be suffering, because that's the one gonna be suffering, and I don't want the staff be suffering. So, and trust me, and we all know that. We receive so many calls, so many emails, because people care. And when they send a text message, call, or email, it's because they care about Bristol school, and they want the best for our children. And that's why when they are panicked, I'm panicked. They're happy, I'm happy. As I always say, I'm here. They let me because they want me to, us, board members, do the best for Bristol school. So I just wanted that for the record. And it's apologize, Madam Chair.
St. Louis.
No, Madam Chair, Casemiro, if it's possible, I would like to, you know, if I say or make a motion, I would like to, if you can ask questions to other board members. Maybe they have some question about the budget, if it's possible, please.
No, I'm gonna decline that request, Mr. Benahan. I think that there has been enough of back and forth with at board meetings. There's, you know, the staff, the faculty, you know, when I go and I visit these schools and I talk to them and I spend time with the kids, I just feel like all it's gonna do is just turn into another shouting match, or just, I just don't want this meeting to be the repeat of what our regular meetings are. Now, they will have plenty of time to ask questions because this is gonna be presented at the next board meeting that we have. So they'll have plenty of questions to really delve in and dive into. And I encourage the board members, write down your questions. I encourage this is going to be online on our website, Dr. Carmela Levy David?
Yes.
Okay, so I encourage the public to go onto the website, to look at this form, to download it. And if they have any questions to ask, I'm still learning this process too. I'm not an expert. I'm not.
We are.
All I know is that I care about these kids and I care about these families, and I care about the staff, and I care about the faculty. And if I make a mistake, I will fix the mistake. But I'm a teachable person, and that's how you have to be. You have to be teachable if you're working with kids. You have to be teachable when you're working with money, when you're working with finances. So again, I might not be a financial expert yet, but I'm sorry.
I can help teach now with some of the mistakes.
Well, you know, Mr. Sapalovic, you have not, okay, and you will have your opportunity, just like the rest of the board members, to ask your questions in detail at the meeting. This meeting is not going to be lasting until midnight for nonsense. I'm sorry. Anyway, the next
Or you will be
committee-
asking next meeting.
the next
I am
committee,
an ex-officio member of every committee. Maybe if you got the bylaws. you should
the
know.
next committee member, Ms. Tahiba Bain.
Madam Chair,
Do you have-
you keep going. Thank you for your answer, and please be sure you run the meeting. You're the chair. Recognize people to speak. I just want to, say that. I always say, you're the
I'm
chair.
right.
Please recognize people. when they
Right, but
speak,
if
please.
no other board
No, I
members are
understand,
allowed
I
to speak,
understand.
I'm allowing everybody. That's
No,
what I'm trying to do.
I'm saying you recognize people, I don't want people.
I'm recognizing everybody. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Benahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Ms. Tahiba Bain, committee member, Tahiba Bain, do you have any questions about the presentation, about the budget?
No, not at this time. I'm just listening.
Okay. I'm gonna recognize the chair at this moment.
Just so the public's aware, according to our bylaws, the official duties of the chairman, 9210, subsection 5, the chairman shall serve as ex officio member on all committees. So given that our policy does exclude regular board members, I am a member of this committee as well as all committees, so I'm given the right to speak.
Objection, Madam Chair. You-
And it's nobody is.
No, it is the chair that is speaking. It is the chair that is speaking.
That's fine, no, I don't want.
It is the chair that has the floor right now, please.
I will correct any line on.
Alright. So
It does.
it's unfortunate for members of the public, our bylaws are available online. I've given the reference to the section and the subsection. I highly suggest and encourage everyone to read it so you cannot be led into false, deceptive, and misleading information by members hungry for power and not truly concerned with the well-being of our children.
Mr. Benahan,
So,
I'm sorry.
The one question I
Sorry.
did want to ask is the $41 million ask and the $16 million ask to city council, that's to maintain the status quo. And by the status quo, that's our out of district placements,
That's correct.
that is our utilization at facilities. It is an expectation of just maintaining the status quo as is without any type of innovative changes.
Correct. There are a number of areas where we are not being good stewards of our resources, where we need to make changes internally in order to ensure that we can provide services to our students, while also ensuring that we're not overspending the budget that we are allocated by the state. And that is the process that we're working toward, identifying those areas and designing solutions for those issues so that we can move forward, because ESSER is not coming back. And my goal as superintendent is not only to inform the public about the budget, but also to ask questions and become well-informed myself, to collaborate with members of our municipality, because after all, we do receive a significant amount of our budget from them, and to ensure that we are building a wonderful partnership where they understand our needs and they also understand how we are being good stewards of the funds that we're allocated. I think that for a lot of people, they see schools as a place where money goes, and unfortunately, they're not seeing the results. Our students are not growing, they're not achieving. We are one of the lowest performing school districts in the state of Connecticut. So even though we have been spending the same basic state allocation each and every year and spending approximately $16,000 per student, we're not seeing those outcomes in student achievement. We're not seeing those outcomes in the retention and recruitment of certified teachers for our district. We're having to rely on services like substitutes and agencies to make us whole. We're having to rely on sending students to out-of-district placements for special ed. We're having to rely on sending students to out-of-district placements for expulsions. We're spending a lot of money in areas where there could be significant savings if we did things differently. And part of this process is streamlining all of our systems, because whenever we have inefficient systems, there is a dollar amount attached to that inefficiency. Failure to understand that is a failure to take accountability for the funds that we're allocated. And so we have to be more efficient. We have to move it, not just the schools, but the way that we operate, automating our systems, moving our district into the 21st century. We still use carbon copies for things. That lends itself to all sorts of inefficiencies. And so we have to automate our systems. We have to modernize the way we do business in Bridgeport Public Schools if we want to ensure that we are safeguarding our funds for days like this, for rainy days like this. We can't just say we need to get more money from the city or more money from the state if we ourselves are not taking steps to become a modern, efficient, tightly run operation. And so that's going to be critical in the next 24 to 48 months in order for us to be able to position ourselves to not just be the largest school district in the state, but also a leader in the way that we use our resources. So I just wanted to share that, because I know that there are individuals who will try to twist this into something dark and nefarious, and it's not. We have not been made whole for over a decade. But we've also had a merry-go-round of leadership, a merry-go-round of inefficiency, and a merry-go-round of different systems being implemented in and out of this system. If we want stability, we have to be the stability we want first. And that begins with this board. Thank you.
I have a follow-up question to that. In terms of the merry-go-round, I'm going to make a general statement. If you have the more specifics towards it, it is very expensive for out-of-district placement for expulsion or even for special education services. I recall during the debates, I've heard a number as high as it can be about $75,000 to $100,000 per child. I've read about other districts bringing children back. I think one that was in the Post not too long ago was Shelton, to see a savings if instead of sending our children out of district at about $100,000 a head, if we were to bring back and educate our own, that can be one of the innovations we're going to look into.
Absolutely. Creating our own programs, ensuring that we can serve students with all different types of disabilities, neurodiversities, and that we have those services for them right here in Bridgeport. No parent wants to put their child on a bus to go to a different city to receive services that they should be receiving where they live. And so we want to be a more agile organization and to be able to deliver those services to our students here in Bridgeport.
In your opinion as superintendent, is there anything that can limit us as to why we can't do this in district? Or is it just that it's never been done due to the merry-go-round of leadership?
There hasn't been stable leadership here long enough to actually have a superintendent who's able to focus on the business of running the district. I fight every day for the time to focus on running the district, the time to focus on being in front of students and not mired in the who said, she said, gossip, newspaper articles of people who are conjecturing and making assumptions and making accusations that are completely not based on what's good for kids. If I had more people spending time asking me about the needs of our students and where we actually have gaps, I mean, why is no one asking me about our student achievement? Why is no one asking me why we are testing in some schools up to 300 students with the state assessment for reading, and of those 300 kids, only 8 students passed the test? How is that helping us when we have students who are having to take high school level courses 2 and 3 times and can't promote to the next grade? How is that? That is expensive. That costs money. We have to provide those courses. So for every time a student is unsuccessful and we have to provide them with this course 2, 3, 4 times, that's money that we are spending in order to deliver that support, that tutoring, that intervention. No one wants to talk about that. That's maybe not sexy enough for the conversation. I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, that should be the only conversation that we're having. What it is that we're doing in the classroom that is resulting in kids being ready to move to the next grade level at the end of the school year, at the end of the 187 days that we have them, they should move to every single grade level without interruption, without a barrier. And right now in Bridgeport, we cannot say that. And that for me is one of the most troubling and disturbing and critical. And that for me is a crisis. That is a crisis. If a student is not able to graduate from our school system in 12 years, that is a crisis. And the majority of our students are not ready for graduation on time. And when they graduate, they're not ready for college and they're not ready for the workforce. I hear from our business partners all the time that Bridgeport students are not ready to go from school to work. They lack basic skills. Or that Bridgeport students are not ready to take college level coursework. They're taking remedial coursework in college that they should be taking with us for free. We should have early college programs where they're able to earn an associate's degree before they leave us. We already know that they're coming from a low socioeconomic background. So we should be providing those courses for them. We should not wait for them to graduate in order to say we could have, should have, would have. So that is, for me, the critical conversation that needs to happen. That is where I would like to focus. And that's where I invite everyone to join me in the conversation.
Madam Chair, we have a question.
No. Not right now. I think that's almost helpful just to know that the ask is to maintain the status quo. In my tenure on the board, you're my third superintendent, so the lack of vision or knowledge of the budget process and the inconsistency and leadership, that makes a lot of sense. Looking forward to hearing more about how we can bring our babies back and educate them here, especially given that that is what most districts, at least from what I've read on the newspaper, and there's another few I can't remember right now, but Shelton sticks out as our closest neighbor that it's looking to do the same, and it will have a very impactful savings. And it's also, I think, impactful mentally for our students that they're served home. And it takes a lot of strain off of the families if their child is going to ACES in Hamden and they live in Bridgeport and don't have a vehicle.
Absolutely.
So I don't have any further questions right now, Madam Chair.
Bring it back to Mr. Benahan. Questions about the budget and presentation?
And I want to be fair, because as people tell me, let's follow the protocol and policy. And Madam Chair, Ms. Casimir, I know we are out of policy, and I believe that policy, and I'm reading this policy 9280. If you don't be part of the committee, you're not allowed to ask questions, stuff like that. And that's the policy, and that's why we handle the bylaw. Second, it's possible that Marlene Siegel give us some thought why she think what's going on with the budget, stuff like that, knowing we have it.
Ms. Siegel is not part of this presentation tonight.
But she's still our employee, she's working with the education,
She
right?
is, but
And
she's
she's
in
in
a
the
different
online.
capacity. This presentation was prepared
This
by
is
Ms.
the
St. Louis.
situation, Dr. Camilla David, that surprised me. That things at the last moment, stuff like that, I'm not agree. I'm not happy with that, because I always say, if we have a good communication, at least we got good communication, we know what we're going through, what we're gonna sit down the table, at least we can know how we can follow the meeting. But things like that, last moment, stuff like that, I'm not agree with that.
Mr. Benahan,
But-
my door is always
I know your
open.
door's always open,
My
Dr. Camilla
phone is
David.
always
Dr. Camilla
available.
David, I'm having the floor, I'm
No,
speaking.
but I work every single day,
me-
sir.
I mean, we all work, not only you, Dr. Camilla David,
No,
what
but
respect
I'm
you have.
here serving
You
the city
interrupt
every
me when I'm
single
speaking,
day.
Dr. Camilla David. Let me finish, please. This is the situation that we never go nowhere because the communication interrupted. We have a policy that's in 9280. I'm upset. Sometimes I have to shut my mouth because I don't want people to say, why Mr. Bennett acting like that? But if something enough is enough. When you put a lot of water in the cup, all the water is gonna come out. Come on, let's follow the way it's supposed to be. I'm speaking. When you speak, I shut my mouth because I respect everything you say. And we send in the policy 9280, you're not part of the committee. They always tell me, they send us, they let me know. I got that policy in front of me all the time. Let's follow the thing. So my question is, you, Madam Chair, you would do one running the meeting. If Ms. Baptiste Perry, with all respect, she's not part of the committee, why she asking, question? If the same thing, let's be fair for
She's an
everyone.
ex-officio member.
What she talked
committee,
about,
though.
but let's go what the policy say. And over here, we have who's a part of the committee. That's my concern and stuff like that. So now you say Carmela David, Ms. Siegel cannot speak and stuff like that. She's still with us, she's working with us. Marlene Siegel knows this about the budget, I close. So it's something that people come out and say, why is the reason? Why board education having this? Why the communication? Why we don't have that? Why? Because things the last moment like that, like today I find out Ms. Siegel's gonna be tough. And God bless her and thank you for everything she do. We have a new inter-COE, welcome, come on, let's be fair. I'm tired about this. I'm not here to be wasting my time and all these people wasting the time. Let's say because we want the best for our students, to work with our staff. Come on, let's communicate much better. Without communication, we are not going nowhere. We can stay out there the same spot. Sorry about my action, but I'm getting tired. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry
Thank you,
for that.
Mr. Benahan. It's okay. Back to Tahiba. Is Tahiba still on the line?
Yes.
Yes, I'm still here. I ain't going nowhere.
I just want to go over to you in case you have any questions about the presentation or about the material.
Well, I have a question. I do have a question. The budget in which we have right now is from 23-24, right? And we're
Yes, that's
talking about 24-25. And and I know you said this is your first time presenting this budget, but it's not your first time presenting a budget, right? I'm talking to, I'm sorry, Dr. Levy David, right?
Yes.
This is not your first time presenting a budget in this.
It's not.
Right? Okay, great. So my question was say, looking at this budget and looking at other budgets you have presented, how critical are we in our school with our funding and our finances? And the second part of that question is, if you've seen anything worse or just as bad, and were you able in your position, if you were in a position to take them out of that critical moment and critical point? And if you were, can you please elaborate a little bit while we have time to say how this can actually help with why we're doing what we're doing and how you come up with the numbers and the strategic plan that you came up with? That would be grateful, helpful.
Thank you, Ms. Bain.
You're welcome.
When you're working in school systems, it is not unusual to come across a year or two when the amount of money allocated, the funds that are allocated don't match the need for the district. And when that happens, typically is when districts take the time to audit the budget, look to see where there are efficiencies that can be found and where money can be saved. And that's where we take a granular approach, where we look at all of the different systems and look to see where it is that we're hemorrhaging money. And I use the term hemorrhaging because that's exactly what it is. When you leave the tap running and the water just runs, you're going to get a bill at the end of that month that aligns with the fact that you left the tap running. But in schools, sometimes people leave the tap running, and it's not until the year when we are out of ESSER that you realize, oh my gosh, I can't continue to operate this way. I can't continue to have the water running. We have certain things that we do as common practice in this district, like out of district placement for students, that sometimes cost us in excess of $90 million a year. $90 million a year alone in Bridgeport. That is a hemorrhage. That's like cutting an artery. That is a critical failure to establish systems to serve students so that we can serve them in-house and also ensure that they don't have to go to other districts or other facilities for the services they need. We haven't done that here, ever. We've never done that. We have just operated as if that is a normal status quo practice, that we can continue to operate in that way and then complain that we're not receiving the funds we need from the state or from the municipality. And what I'm saying is that when you see that the tap is running, you have to call a plumber. If you can't fix it yourself, but I always prefer to call a plumber because I like it fixed right the first time, and make sure that you are able to ensure that you're not wasting that resource. You know, water is the most precious resource, which is why I use that analogy. So for me, in dealing with systems where we've had failures, where we've had systems that weren't operating, the first thing we looked at was, where is it that we're spending an exorbitant amount of money? Do a comparison. And then you develop a zero-based budget for that system, and you develop ways, strategies to ensure that you don't continue to do the same thing expecting different results. We are continuing to do the same thing year after year in Bridgeport, and we expect different results. We're saying that we have $36 million in our fund that we can access to make us whole. And what I'm saying is that if we take some other steps, we wouldn't need to address using the savings fund to make us whole. We could actually have a savings every single year just by doing the right thing the first time. And that's what we have not done in Bridgeport. And that's not something that I need Ms. Siegel to get on the line to speak on. Ms. Siegel shared it with me and showed me exactly where the money was going. So I am very well informed of where we are financially.
I don't know who that lady is, so that's fine for me, whether she's here or not. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is the strategic plan of what's going to be best for the children moving forward. And I'm sitting here on the camera because I'm sitting in my office here on the camera because I wasn't able to make it there in time, and that's why I was a few minutes late, because I was on a Zoom. So in me and running my business, I understand budgetary ups and downs, ebbs and flows. But I want to state this for the record, that I now see what the public sees when we're up there and we're presenting on committee and at regular meetings. And what I'm seeing is, for certain people, is very childish behavior in the back of you guys. What I'm seeing is what the children are seeing. And if we're looking to make a change, then if what you're expecting them to see, and Albert Benahan, I'm not talking about you because you have every right to your opinion and how you feel. I'm not saying that about you. I'm just saying the people behind you. They see what I'm seeing. And what it is childish. It's very childish, it's immature, with the backbiting, the talking, and all that stuff that's going on, the passing of notes, the texting back and forth messages, of, can you ask this question? I'm not asking any questions, so please don't text me anymore to ask any questions from anybody on the board. Don't do it, okay? Because this is ridiculous. If we're looking for a change for our children, we need to remove our own biases and have this change. We need to give the superintendent an opportunity to do her job. If we don't know her day-to-day, daily woes and ins and out of what she needs to do, but we are trying to hinder her, and we're supposed to be supporting her. If she's our employee, then we need to lift her up and push her out to do her job. I have a board myself for my organization, and I tell you, my board supports me. And when they didn't support me, we had a revisioning of the board, because I need my board to help me do the work that I need to do for the community, just like she need us board members to help her do the work for our children. So I'm gonna ask you, board members, to please behave yourselves as if you are adults, because this is ridiculous. If you have issues with this budget, no, you cannot speak here. Okay, wait your turn. Period, point blank. Okay, like, this is enough. And I'm like, you guys are really, y'all been on this board and y'all may have done some things in the past, but what you did in the past does not work for today. Because today, what you did in the past was good. Thank you for that. We appreciate you. But what happens now is in the new age, 21st century, 21st century, and we are still in the 19th century. We're almost out of the 20th century. Are you serious? Like, so serious. We need to get a grip. This is important. You was asking for the budget. Here it is. That's it. You have something to say? You can't say it now. We're having another committee. We're having another meeting. Wait then. You need the information. You want the information? Like she said, her door is always open. Her phone is always on. Ask her for it. But enough is enough, committee members, board members. Like, so serious. This is bad. That's all I have to say. I'm signing off.
Thank you, Ms. Bain.
I'm still here, but I'm just signing off.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Benahan, go ahead. Yeah.
Why the reason those information on this week, it wasn't in the package for all board members? Yeah.
The presentations, because Dr. Levy David had explained it before, that when she's working on presentations, she works on the presentation, adds things into it, and edits it right up, and maybe right up until the time that it's time for her to do it. So she works over the weekend. I've never seen a superintendent that calls or answers the phone if I have any questions. So, but I won't go into that. That's the answer to your
No, I
question.
know she should do, but
Yeah, she
my,
edits
I
it.
know.
So when
Trust
she
me.
if she sends it
She
out
will
Wednesday, and then she has to change on Friday.
No, I don't
Yeah.
have that issue with Dr. Commander David. Doesn't matter what date or what time she will answer. But the thing is, like I say, if we have this in the package, I believe that we will not go so far and have people ask questions. Maybe they, like you said, people have this before, maybe they will email Dr. Kamala David or you some questions. So we don't need to go far this way. I just want to put that for the record.
Yes, yes.
Thank you,
And
Madam Chair.
again, I know that Dr. Levy David is absolutely open to any questions that the board has. I honestly suggest everybody put your questions in email and text. I really do.
I've had board members who have sent me questions, and I've had board members who've requested meetings, and I've granted those. And I've actually met with them and the CFO so that we could go through questions about the budget. So some people chose to instead send a reporter to ask me questions rather than to contact me. Since I'm an employee, I've never in any capacity had someone send a reporter to ask me questions when I'm easily available. I'm in the office every day. A lot of this behavior is very passive aggressive, very hostile, and it's meant to completely remove any credibility for the processes that we have and to maintain the chaos that keeps Bridgeport from moving forward and keeps our students from getting the services that they need. Why people just want to do this on camera? You know, I'm sorry. We need to move past wanting to have all of these conversations on camera in order to have our 5 seconds of fame, our memes, or whatever it is that we seek gratification from having this done on camera. Those board members that were interested in knowing about the budget met with me well ahead of time to find out exactly where we were and where we stood as a district and where our challenges were. So if you were interested in doing that, your employee was available. But your employee is not going to talk to a reporter about school business. That is not my job. That is not why I'm employed in the district, to engage in answering your questions through a third party who happens to work for a newspaper or a publication. That is not how we do business. And so if those behaviors would stop, perhaps you would have a superintendent who would be willing to be here for 3 years or more. But until those behaviors stop, anyone who has the level of education and expertise that I have, we're not willing to put up with this foolishness for very long because there are much easier ways to make a living.
Thank you, Dr. Levy David. Mr. Benahan, any more questions?
No, Madam Chair, thank you.
All right, Ms. Bain, any more questions from you?
There's no more questions, but I move to adjourn.
Actually, I have one more motion that I need.
Okay.
Do I have
All
a
right,
motion?
sorry.
It's okay. Do I have a motion to bring this budget to the full board at the next board meeting, which
So
is
moved.
scheduled for March 11th?
So move for Mr. Benahan.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, moved by Mr. Benahan, seconded by Ms. Bain. This budget will go to the next scheduled board meeting for the full board. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm new. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I motion to adjourn and he so moved. Amen.
Mr. Benahan moved and seconded by Ms. Bain. Thank you, everybody. Have a good, I'm sorry. Oh, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? None. Okay. And the time now is 7:09 PM. Thank you for coming, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll do better.